How did we get to this moment? I think is a key question from the historical point of view. How does social change happen? How can we make it happen intentionally? How do we begin to develop solution-based strategies? Because, we've had success and we have power base. World protests against the wars in the Middle East on February 15th. Millions of people participated in that march. We brought up in the migrant issues of 2006, starting with the marches in March, then in April with Cesar Chavez Day, and then in May, on May 1st. That was the biggest general strike that has happened since Haymarket, over 100 years. And it was the migrants who showed that there is power. Even a sector that we considered without power showed that they had power. So we were not ready to be inclusive of their power. We wanted to advocate for them, but not empower them totally as equal partners. So our strategy was short and limited to mobilizing. We were very successful at it. People came out where you would not have thought. If you expected 25,000 people, you got 75,000 people. If you expected 500,000, you got 2 million people. So it was a total blowout in terms of our concepts of power. So now we know we are in a movement, mass-based movement, not in an issue-based movement, but you still have issues. You still have power identity movements of the situation of African Americans or Latinos or Mexicans or Asians we still have all those issues that we have to bring together in a more complex construction. And therefore we need a more complex process that integrates all of the thinking, collectively, all of the analysis, in order to not repeat just marching in 2006 and not having made the demanded change on migrant policies in the U.S. So we lost the battle. But we showed the power. And the system didn't just stay doing nothing. They began to deport and do mass raids and repression, just like when the workers go out on strike. The boss sends out the goons and they beat them up, the union organizers, in order to break the spirit and to show that you don't have any power. And we had really the first movements assembly in a discussion about black and brown alliance building. Because of the migrant issue, there was a big division and an attempt to wedge and divide the Mexican Latino community with the African American community, because there was such a growth of migration to the South that the white establishment was using it to erode the political gains that had been made by the African Americans, and therefore pit one group against the other. We saw the necessity to begin to work from the South by Southwest connection because of that. But we also, from that first assembly, set out sort of a framework and a vision of what the U.S. Social Forum could be in its own process. Not what happened in Brazil, not what happened in India or Kenya or Senegal, but our own construct. So by the time we got to the Border Social Forum in Ciudad Juarez that we organized, then we actually had a more formal social movements assembly process with the explicit goal of action. And here we come to 2012. It's not about just the election, it is about the whole power relationship between the haves-nots and the people that have all the power and the money. And we've seen a much more higher concentration of capital in fewer hands. And so we see the right-wing racism growing and getting financed in order to grow. So it is about stopping our power.